Tonight, revelations about alleged unfair treatment of Dom Kwabenya MP Adrasafo by both the Speaker of Parliament and majority leadership as she risks being removed as MP, with the minority chief whip disclosing how U.S. social welfare officials attempted to take away her children.
She's talking about her children, and if she's not careful, social welfare in America will seize these children.
Did she say that in the application?
Yes. We cannot pretend to say that that's not a serious thing.
She has been referred to the Privileges Committee together with two other MPP MPs. We tell you why the majority leader insists the recommendation of the Privileges Committee should be final without the Parliament voting on it.
A member of Parliament shall vacate his seat in Parliament. Once the committee makes that determination, they submit the report to Parliament, but it is for the information of Parliament plenary and not for us to vote on.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Vodafone and Prime Insurance. We are learning more tonight about why Dom Kwabenya MP Sarah Adrasafo may have been absent for so long from the jurisdiction. That's coming from the minority side, particularly the minority chief whip, Muntaka Mubarak, who is revealing tonight the alleged unfair treatment, and that's his accusation leveled against both the Speaker of Parliament, Aban Bagbeng, and Majority Leader and the leadership really on her side, led by Chairman Sabunso, accuses both of them of being unfair and meting out unfair treatment to the Dom Kwabenya MP, Sarah Adrasafo, and has to disclose a series of letters that had gone on between herself and her leadership, explaining her reasons for being absent. As you may know, her conduct has now been referred to the Privileges Committee yesterday, and the Privileges Committee is set to take a decision on that. We'll get into that very shortly. She is together with two other MPP MPs. We'll get into the reasons by the minority chief whip why he believes the process is flawed, but also may trigger a by-election that his side doesn't really isn't really enthused about. We'll also hear from the majority leader why he believes the Privileges Committee's report and determination should be final, and if they settle on a conclusion that the three, including Sarah Adrasafo, may have conducted themselves in a way that they should vacate their seats, that shouldn't be subject to a vote by the entire House on the floor very shortly. A lot to get through for you as we begin to learn more about yesterday's controversy on the floor. First, listen to Muntaka Mubarak, who was speaking to me on PMX, was laying out some details that he is privy to regarding the ongoing exchanges between Sarah Adrasafo and her own leadership.
I think that there's a lot of unfair treatment to that lady.
Why do you say that?
I'm reliably informed that she wrote leave of absence and her leadership refused to recommend it to Speaker.
Okay, Chairman Sabunsu told me that she applied for an additional 20 days that the Speaker rejected.
Listen, she wrote a leave of absence and then she traveled, citing her children and challenges. And the leadership, because they needed her at all costs, refused to recommend. So she noticed along the line that she's constantly being marked absent. So now she wrote a letter with another leave of absence directed to Mr. Speaker to remind them, Mr. Speaker, I'm supposed to seek permission from you, but the rules of this House is such that, like he himself stated today, I have to pass it through my leadership. I have noticed that my leadership have consistently refused to recommend my leave of absence. So I'm writing directly to you.
So she bypassed her leadership?
Yeah, because she has done one with her leadership and the leadership have refused to recommend. Now she writes this and stating this in the letter to Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, having gotten this, I cannot judge the thinking of Mr. Speaker. Milited it back to her leadership. The same leaders that have refused to recommend her leave of absence, Speaker referred this matter to her leadership. And what the majority leader simply said was that, I'm not aware. And based on that, Speaker refuses to grant her leave of absence. With the greatest of respect to the office of Mr. Speaker, I think this is very unfair.
Unfairness on the
Unfair
part of the
because-
Speaker or on the part of her leadership?
Both. The reason I'm saying unfair to both is that, you see, if I make a claim and you don't use your good office to investigate that, but you refer my application back to the same group of people that have refused to grant my leave of absence. If I were Mr. Speaker, to be fair, I would have just minuted that majority leader, so majority whip, can you recommend, based on this complaint, to me for the leave of absence to be granted? Because remember, she has filled another leave of absence
Complaining about the conduct.
about what her leadership did. So to treat her fairly, you, Mr. Speaker, having gotten this background, you will have recommended to the leadership to recommend for her leave of absence in order not to keep them on the blind side of what's happening. Now,
But this document, have you seen it yourself?
yes,
Because Che, that's
I've
not
seen
Che's
it.
point.
I've seen it myself.
Che disagrees that that's what happened. He said the Speaker by himself rejected that application for extension of absence.
Tell him that if he challenged that, that minute could be brought out. Speaker wrote to him, and he claimed that he wasn't aware.
So it was
He wasn't aware that she had made an earlier application. And you know, these applications are done through the whips. My belief is that if it's not a grand scheme, it is for the leader to get his whip to now recommend at least the one that she has sent to Speaker so that they will be recorded. But deliberately, they kept marking her absent.
He disclosed the following details about the contents of the letters that Ajah Safo had written to both her leadership and to the Speaker.
Now, the reason she gave, is it tenable? I mean, everybody in the way he looks at it. I sitting here, I put my family above everything. If I have a sick child, in seeking health care for my child, I'll put that as a priority to any other thing. If my mother is sick, I'll put that as a priority to any other thing. So you may disagree because maybe in your case, you have your grandmother staying with you who can take care of the kids. Therefore, if your children are sick, there's somebody to take care of them. In my case, it's me and my wife, and I will have to prioritize that because their health care will be very, very important.
So,
She's talking about her children. And if she's not careful, social welfare in America will seize these children.
did she say that in the application?
Yes. We cannot pretend to say that that's not a serious thing. We can't. So I'm not just defending unnecessarily.
I mean, let's get some clarity now from the my majority leadership. Let's speak to Habib Idris, who's a deputy majority whip and joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Idris, I'm grateful for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you, Ivan.
You just had your colleague, minority chief whip, there give some details that just apparently had been writing to the leadership through the whip and the leaders, asking legitimately for permission, and that you've consistently rejected that and haven't passed it on. And finally, he then bypasses you and goes to the Speaker with very legitimate reasons, such as her children risking losing her children. And the Speaker refers that back to you, and you still refuse to grant that permission, and that you've been unfairly treating her. What's your reaction to that?
I'm at a loss when my senior colleague, Honorable Muntaka, will make that assertion that the Member of Parliament for Domi Kobenya will write to the whips. In fact, if you are going to absent yourself from Parliament, there is a form that you fill. It's not like automatically you write to us. You get the form, you fill the form, you sign the form, and you give the reasons why you are not going to be available in any other sitting. And then the whip's office will then, either the chief whip, any of the deputy whips, that is including myself, then do approve it and minute it and send it to the speaker. But you could realize that some few weeks back, the speaker himself, even before making this statement, has come on the floor of Parliament to say that specifically the Honorable Ajua Safo hasn't written any letter to him. He hasn't given any permission. So I think if there was any kind of intervention that has to do with her asking permission or any other thing, the speaker would have made it clear that day that maybe I have been written to, of which I have referred to the whip. So to the best of my knowledge, the chief whip office, that is the majority chief whip, and any of his deputies haven't received any petitions. None of us have also received any leave of absence form, because we actually approved the leave of absence form and we didn't receive such thing. So it would be fair on our part to say that she has actually written to us, giving us reasons why she is unable to attend sittings in Parliament. Throughout this session, that is the 2022 first meeting of this session, she didn't show up when we came from January until we rise. We didn't hear anything from her. She didn't fill any form to any of the whip's office. So we are at a loss if we are actually going to be dragged into this issue to say that she has made an attempt or written to us. So that is completely not true.
I mean, but we've seen and heard before. Of course, the speaker talks about that you reference in the chair that she's not giving any permission. But you're saying that since last year when this started until now, Ajua has never written to her leadership asking for an approval for permission to be absent.
Yes, and that's what I rightly put.
So you've never seen it? Is that you've never seen it?
I have never cited.
Could it be you or?
Now, and you know the chief whip have also spoken to this issue.
Yes.
The able Honorable Frank Anodompre, I think 2 weeks or so, or through your medium, have also lamented about her absence in Parliament that is actually affecting government business. To an extent, he said it was a blackmail to the government. So the chief whip definitely, if he has seen such a permission or such a petition or a statement to say that this is the reason why I cannot be available. And I said she's an experienced member of Parliament. She has been a deputy majority leader before. So she knows the procedure that if you are not going to be available, there is a form that you can fill. Even if you are already out of the jurisdiction, the form can be sent to you. You can fill the form.
Muntaka says that form was filled and evidence was attached to it to your
given
leadership.
To who? The Honorable Muntaka said who it was given to. Is it the majority leader, the deputy leader, the chief whip, or any of the deputy chief whips? We are those who are supposed to minute on it even before it goes there. Because in the form, you have your name, you have the date, you have the constituency, you have the purpose, and the date you are going to absent yourself to the other one. And the column is approval. So you say this person is in a caucus of, if it is majority, then you sign, and you date it, and you give your title, the one who is signing. If it is deputy majority whip, I have to write deputy majority whip. If it is a majority whip or is a majority leader, whosoever approved the leave of absence, so that one day if there is a problem, that has to do with the leave of absence form, and it is also go to the speaker for final authorization. The speaker will be able to do that. So definitely, Honorable Muntaka might not be able or cannot give permission to somebody who is on the majority side. And the speaker himself cannot actually approve the leave of absence form without it being endorsed by the caucus that we are. For example, we are in the majority caucus. So if we know we are going to have a serious government to go, if you bring a leave of absence form, definitely I would advise you that it's not the best time to take the leave of absence. You need to wait. Then we in the caucus know before we then inform the speaker. So we are at a total loss at the moment if we are going to be dragged into the conversation as if.
But did the speaker refer a letter requesting for permission to be absent to the office of the majority whip?
And that's what I said.
That one too didn't happen.
Of my knowledge, and the majority chief whip himself have already made statement to that effect that she never asked permission. The speaker himself have made statement, even before this statement on the floor of Parliament, to say that she has never granted her permission, neither did she get anything about permission of that sort from her. So I don't know where this conversation is coming from at the moment. And at this material moment where we are, I don't think if that one is even necessary for us to discuss, because the most important thing is that the Speaker have done a referral. So if there was something to that knowledge, the day he was saying it, he could have been able to say to the fact that, this member have actually asked permission from me and I refer to the majority leadership. But consistently, you could see that vote and proceedings of every day that depicts what happened the previous day is being adopted by the House. And if she was actually absent, someone could have raised it that it should be absent with permission, but not absent. And such a thing has never happened.
Well, thankfully, when I pushed Muntaka Mubarak on this, he was clear that if your leadership denies this, he was going to produce the minutes to back the argument, the allegations that he's made, and so we'll follow up for that. But there's a
but it's Honorable Adjuas Afu now on the caucus of Honorable Muntaka, or he's in the caucus of the majority, and he's going to write a letter to us. He has a copy, and we don't have a copy. I'm totally at a loss with that assertion, but until otherwise proven. So we'll be waiting to see a copy of that. But what I do know is that the majority chief whip, who has spoken extensively to this issue and lamented about her absence, and then my deputy leader and other people have also spoken to this same issue. So we in the majority leadership, there is nothing to that to the best of our knowledge.
And yesterday, we heard from the majority leader, and he clarified from you on something that he said there. He was clear that this referral to the Privileges Committee the report of the Privileges Committee, whatever they decide, should not come back to the plenary for a debate and a vote on it by the entire House. This was his argument.
The Constitution is clear, as you have read to us, in Article 97, 1C. A member of Parliament shall vacate his seat in Parliament. The operative word is shall vacate his seat if he is absent without the permission in writing of the Speaker and is unable to offer a reasonable explanation to the Parliamentary Committee on Privileges from 16 sittings of a meeting of Parliament during any period that Parliament has been summoned to meet and continues to meet. Mr. Speaker, that determination is made by the committee, not plenary. So once the committee makes that determination, in a report, they submit the report to Parliament, but it is for the information of Parliament plenary and not for us to vote on. Yes, Mr. Speaker, listen. Mr. Speaker, Article 106 of the Constitution provides, 106(13) provides, where it is determined by a committee of Parliament appointed for the purpose that a particular bill is of an urgent nature, the provisions of the preceding clauses of this article, other than clause 1 and paragraph A of clause 2, shall not apply, and accordingly, the President shall give his assent to the bill in his presentation for assent. The Speaker, bills that are referred to committees, once the committees make a determination that is of an urgent nature, they come to inform us of that decision. It's for our information, and the plenary does not vote on it. That is the truth. The Speaker, so for you to say that when the determination has been made by the Committee of Privileges, it should come here for voting, with the greatest respect, I disagree.
I mean, Mr. Idris, so that is a majority leader's position. Is this a position you share?
Yes, I totally agree with the position of the majority leader. And such a case has been tested before. But the only avenue that was used to address this issue was the court. You remember the case of Honorable Dan Abu Dhabi. That has to do with, I think it was somewhere in 2004, 2005. His continued absence of Parliament was referred to the Committee of Privileges. The Committee of Privileges then even say that he can be absent for a certain reasonable time, or just can be absent forever in total. That was the decision they took. But at the end of the day, it was tested in court. And the court then says that, no, they cannot do that. And then the committee then went back and do their own work, and then the seat was declared vacant. So if you look at the diction in Article 97(1)(c), it is clear to say that, like the majority leader rightly interpreted, there is nowhere mentioned that if the Committee of Parliament arrive at a decision, it is now something that has to come with to the preliminary for deliberation, because it says that a member of parliament shall vacate his seat. It's already telling you that you vacate your seat. For example, upon the dissolution of parliament, or if you are elected as Speaker of Parliament. For instance, so does that mean that in the case of Honorable Joe Ajawo, when he was elected as Speaker of Parliament, the Parliament need to take a decision whether he has to be there or not? Because it is clear in our Constitution. So if it is also telling us in Article 97(1)(c) that if he absents without the permission in writing of the Speaker, he is unable to offer a reasonable explanation to the Parliamentary Committee on Privileges from 15th sitting of a meeting of Parliament during any period that Parliament has been summoned to meet and continue to meet. But you see, the whole thing is a bit dicey, because if you look at the provisions in Article 97, this whole meeting of this session of Parliament, you could see that Honorable Sarah Adjosafu never turned up the whole meeting of this session, not even one day that she stepped a foot, even though there have been other people like Honorable Kennedy or Hina Japan who have been referred to the committee, and that of Honorable Henry Kote. But in this meeting or this session, they've been available. So the committee will need to do a lot of work, especially with these two people. That has to do with the case of Honorable Henry Kote.
Yeah, Mr. Idris, is it your view that Kennedy Japan and the Greater Accra Regional Minister have a reasonable reason, have a reasonable basis for the absence?
Yes, to the best of my knowledge, like I said, if their absenteeism has to do with this session, they have been part of this session. We were expecting that upon the Speaker trying to make that referral, we should have been able to be made aware that these are the number of days, these are the referral of the vote and proceedings that reflect that they were unable. I think the committee will do that work. But I know the Member of Parliament for Domi Komina, Honorable Ajua Safu, was an interest of the public. So public was following keenly, and media houses even coming to Parliament just to take the vote and proceedings to be able to count. In this case, it has been different. So we are going to look at it carefully and be able to see whether Honorable Henry Kote and that of Honorable Kennedy Japan are even victims of that.
But as far as you're concerned, for Mr. Kote and Mr. Japan, they would have a legitimate reason for the absence and therefore should not be caught by the constitutional provision of vacating their seats.
If anybody is found culpable of the provisions in the Constitution, the committee needs to deal with it. But my argument is that I am not too sure, and I have been doing my work from the session to be able to know if actually Honorable Henry Kote and that of Honorable Kennedy Japan have actually absent themselves 15 consecutive sittings or more than 15 consecutive sittings. But it is on record that throughout this session, this meeting of this session, Honorable Sarah Adjosafu never stepped a foot.
I mean, let me put this to you directly. I mean, this whole thing is really targeted at Adjosafu, is it not? You simply want her out.
I think if it was targeted at her, the Speaker who made the reference would have just referred her to the.
Yeah, but you just raised the point that you disagree that the other two should have been added.
Remember, the Speaker had made a statement about her, saying that she has been absent, she hasn't asked permission from her, she is not aware. So if it was the case that the Speaker actually, or it was being targeted, a member from our caucus would have just moved a motion to draw the Speaker attention to that. But until such is done, and that was the issue Honorable Muntaka raised, was saying the Speaker that if such a thing needs to be referred to the Committee on Privileges, either the member might rise under Order 72 and 45 by Order 53 to draw the Speaker attention to a matter which is of public interest, that a whole session of Parliament or a whole meeting of a session of Parliament, a member didn't appear. That didn't done. That didn't get,
I mean, Muntaka, Muntaka Mubarak is clear that the reason you don't want the Privileges Committee's report back to the plenary for a vote is because you know that you will lose a vote in that instance. And that is why you want the committee's report to by itself determine the fate of Sarah Safo.
And that's what I have already said, and I have cited with the reasoning of the majority leader in Article 106.13. It is clear.
So you don't want to vote because you know you will lose.
When committees take decisions, it is the decision of the House, because the committee is a committee of Parliament, it's a committee of the Speaker.
Okay, so you're saying
the Constitution has made it clear. It did not in any place set it up to say that when decisions like that are taken, it should be referred to.
Yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that argument. I'm saying that you make that argument fundamentally because you know if it comes for a vote, you may lose that vote, and you want that just vote out so badly, you can't afford to subject that to a vote in the House.
I differ far away from that. That is not the case. We are just sticking to the provisions of the Constitution. We are sticking to the provisions of the standing orders, and we are sticking to the provisions of the laws of Ghana. So if the laws of Ghana are saying that something should not happen, that's because of someone thinking and reasoning that we might lose a vote. That is the reason why we should come there. No, I don't think that is the case.
I'm grateful, Abibu Drisizi, Deputy Majority Whip, speaking to us and clarifying a few of these very controversial matters. And so, as you know, the matter has been referred to the Privileges Committee, but there's a motion that is challenging that referral and has now been sent by the minority leadership to the office of the Speaker. And so, will the Privileges Committee still sit? Let's speak to the ranking member on the Privileges Committee, Rickett Hagan, joins us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Hagan, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Yes. Hi, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Has this referral formally been brought before your good selves at the Privileges Committee?
Well, there is. Thank you very much, and good evening to your listeners. There is a process, obviously, as it just happened on the floor of the chamber, which we all heard that the Right Honourable Speaker has referred the honourable members, our three colleagues, to the Privileges. So there is a process, and then obviously we will be officially served at the clerk, the clerk level, and then we will take a look at things. But we haven't actually sort of cited anything yet. But as you rightly pointed out, Honourable Muntaka, or the minority, actually coming by a substantive motion, which I believe has been sent to the Right Honourable Speaker's office. So depending on the outcome of that, if the Speaker admits the motion, against his ruling, then the House will either vote for the ruling to stand or it be revoked. So as far as we are concerned, as the Privileges Committee, once it's been referred to us, on the floor, we start the preparatory work, put on the modalities and all what we're going to be doing together before we even, start the work and with whatever investigation we are going to do and the people that we are going to be inviting, to come and speak to us.
Okay,
so our preparation goes on until we hear otherwise.
Okay, so you're going to proceed until you hear from the Speaker on the motion challenging his referral?
Absolutely, because the job has been referred to us and we have to start working. I mean, our job doesn't start, just by starting to call the honourable members. There is some preparatory work that needs to be done. So I'm sure by the time we get to, so that it doesn't become, some kind of something that we will start officially and have to stop. I'm sure by that point, Speaker would have made a determination, or it would have, some determination would have been arrived at as to whether the referral will stand or it will be revoked.
Parliament is on recess now. Is there any realistic expectation that this will begin during the recess, or definitely when you return?
Well, I'm not quite sure. It's in the hands of the Speaker now. Though we are on recess, as I said, we on the Privileges, will be doing some underground work. If for any reason we are called to either halt what we are doing or not, then we will take a decision on that, or whether the House will be called, on this one motion, then, we will cross that bridge when we get there. But we have to set ourselves ready to do the job of Privileges Committee and see what happens to the motion that Right Honourable that the Minority Chief Whip has rightly, it is his right to challenge the Speaker's decision, and it has to be done by substantive motion, which I understand has been done. Everything that the Minority Chief Whip has done, as far as I'm concerned, is right and is his right. So we are following the processes of Parliament and to arrive at, whatever conclusion or decision we will arrive at.
I'm grateful. That's Ricky Hagen. Is a ranking on the Privileges Committee. Newsnight starts now.